Denise. Denise. It's Denise. It's Denise. It's Denise. Denise. It's a podcast party. It's a podcast party. It's a podcast party.
I gotta say, I feel like we're besties now after this. What's up, guys? It's Denise Salcedo. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Denise. You are watching Speak Now Pro Wrestling here on February 10th on F4W Online. And man, it is Friday. And Fridays are always the best, everyone, because it's the most chill show of the week. Usually we spend our days talking about the bloodline, and that's kind of be the majority of what we talk about here today. I thought SmackDown had some pretty good stuff. Mainly it was the bloodline stuff is really what the show we just had so much go down with Paul Heyman, Sami Zayn, with the Usos. We are about 2 weeks away, a week and a couple days. We're like 10 days or something away from 8 days away. There you go. 8 days away from the Elimination Chamber. And so we are pretty much on the precipice of Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. And we kind of got a little bit of information on what we might be able to expect, or at least something that will help with our predictions going into that show. On top of that, we had AEW Rampage. I did think AEW Rampage was a lot better this week than it was last week, but we will go ahead and talk about all of that here today. So first of all, a scary thing, well, not a scary thing, I guess a scary thing for a person that, has to cover SmackDown for a living and being out on the West Coast. I always have to watch SmackDown live on Fox Sports. If not, I can't watch the show. Like if I'm not watching live, I'll miss the show. Like I won't be able to see it, right? Because I don't have any other way of watching unless I wait until the West Coast broadcast. So around like 4:00 or something, I was like, I got an hour till SmackDown starts. I'm going to sit on my couch, guys. And I did it. I was like, I'm going to sit on my couch, close my eyes, rest my eyes for a bit before the show. I woke up about 5 minutes after SmackDown had started. I don't know what happened. I just suddenly woke up and I was like, oh my God, SmackDown's on. And so I run to my computer and I'm like, Fox Sports, how do I log in? Panic mode. So I did miss the first 5 minutes of the show, but don't worry. I pretty much got the gist of everything. I got to see everything, mainly everything. I only missed Paul Heyman's portion, and the actual just the Paul Heyman's portion was the only thing that I missed, but I'm pretty much caught up on that. But I was so freaking pissed when I went on and I saw that it was already Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn, all because I did it. I sat down on my couch, I decided to rest my eyes for a bit, and I ended up knocking out for like 30-40 minutes. So that happened to me today, and you do not know how scary it was when I realized that the show had already started. I wasn't recording the show. I was missing things, and then I started thinking what would have happened had I just slept through all of SmackDown, all of Rampage, and woke up super late or something. So there you go. That was my adventure of today. But we got a super chat here from Steven, who sends one in saying, love the Friday night hangouts. Let's go, Denise. Let's go. Thank you so much to Steven for sending this in. There almost wasn't a Friday night hangout today. Grapple Geekery sends in a super chat saying AEW was more WWE than WWE tonight. What's funny is that AEW was more WWE than WWE on Wednesday with the last couple of minutes of the show, but not the entire show, though. Wednesday's Dynamite I thought was spectacular, except for maybe the last couple of moments, but for the most part, it was a great show. But thank you so much to Grapple Geekery for sending in the super chat that read like a riddle. I love it. Major Blood says, Denise, you got to set an alarm. I normally do. If I'm going to take a nap, like a 20-minute nap or something, and you want more than 20 minutes, but you could only afford 20 minutes, I usually do set an alarm. However, this time I really didn't think I was actually going to fall asleep. I legitimately thought, I'm just going to close my eyes and relax for a second. Didn't happen at all. But let's get into the show, everybody. And we're going to kick things off with the bloodline and kind of get into what happened today. And then also, I guess if this helps any of our theories heading into Elimination Chamber. So we did kick off the show with Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman. So Paul Heyman basically goes out there and he's basically talking about how, Roman Reigns is facing attacks from Cody Rhodes, from Sami Zayn, and there's, both of these things, both of these, programs are simultaneously happening. And we did see Roman Reigns address this the following week, the week before this, where he said that he wanted to talk about Cody Rhodes because he felt Cody Rhodes was the one that deserved his attention versus Sami Zayn. And so we did talk about him saying that last week. But then this week, we didn't get to see Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns wasn't there. And so during this, Paul Heyman basically asked the fans, like, hey, do you actually think that you're going to be seeing Sami Zayn as champion? When he mentioned that, you get this crowd eruption. And then finally, he first says that Sami Zayn isn't on the show today. And Sami Zayn ends up coming out and coming out, by surprise. He comes out, huge reaction from the crowd. And so finally, we get Sami Zayn, and I loved Sami Zayn's promo tonight because, a lot of what we've been seeing with the bloodline, we've been seeing Sami Zayn's character, early on was like the fun, lovable one. That's part of the reason why he got so over. It was like Sami Zayn would come out and be Sami, dancing and whatnot. He would be, just being Sami Zayn. And then the times where, things were getting a little rocky between him and the bloodline, we were getting more of a nervous, anxious Sami Zayn with I don't want to say anxiety, but he was just a lot more timid, not really, kind of nervous, right? Kind of nervous. Like we all sat through those promos with Roman Reigns kind of scolding him and whatnot. And there was moments where things kind of got sad. Do you guys remember when he was almost going to be, or the segment where Roman Reigns gives him the honorary Uso shirt? We remember that. We remember the emotions that Sami Zayn had during that. So that was pretty much what we had seen from Sami Zayn. However, ever since, the events that unfolded at Royal Rumble took place, we've been seeing this new version of Sami, an angry version of Sami Zayn. And clearly, Sami Zayn is pissed off at Roman Reigns. He, challenged him last week to a match at Elimination Chamber, says he's going to take away the titles from him, etc. So then today, he tells Paul Heyman, he kind of goes off. And I love this because we get a meaner, more aggressive Sami Zayn, but not in a way that comes off like you don't want to cheer for him, in a way that you do want to cheer for him. But, he's angry and he's letting that out. And so he's basically telling, he's basically telling Paul Heyman, like, oh, you think that this is not going to happen basically saying that the bloodline is falling apart. They're unraveling. They're going down. Roman Reigns is going down. And he's saying, you don't think that Jey Uso is going to stick with Jimmy. You don't think that this is all going to happen. And so he really gets in the face of Paul Heyman and just really, man, he freaking goes at it. And this was definitely something that I definitely enjoyed from Sami Zayn here. So after this, we still don't know. There was also another part that I really liked. Sorry, guys, I'm following up on my notes here. They're kind of a mess today. But my favorite part of this was when Sami Zayn tells Paul Heyman that the way that he looks at Roman Reigns is creepy. He tells him, why do you look at him like that? Like, it's super creepy. You look at him like the sun shines out of his ass. And I thought this was kind of funny because last night, and I think this hit me differently, last night I was watching Juno, and I don't know how many of you guys have seen Juno. It's kind of an old movie, but I've seen it a million times. And there's the part where the dad tells Juno that to find somebody. So Juno in the movie asks her dad, I want to know if two people can really be in love together for like their entire lives. And she's kind of looking for some love advice. And the dad tells her, Junebug, all you need to do is find somebody that thinks the sun shines out of your ass. And so it's the exact same quote. And I was like, oh my God, it's not from Juno because it's like an everyday saying, like everybody says the sun shines out of your ass. But I just thought it was funny that I had just heard it on Juno and then I heard it on SmackDown today. But so he's basically saying, Sami Zayn tells Paul Heyman, the bloodline, it's on its way out. So that was kind of like the first portion of what we got today between Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn. So Man, all right, let's continue on from here because we got so much more with this. Throughout the night, as you guys know, we were going to be seeing this match that had been promoted now for weeks between Ricochet and Braun Strowman against Jey and Jimmy Uso for the tag team titles. Now, for weeks, we really weren't sure, like, is this match actually going to happen? Is Jey Uso going to show up? Because the bloodline hasn't been able to get a hold of Jey since Royal Rumble, and nobody really knew, when he was going to pop up, if he was going to pop up, and if he did, how was he going to be acting? We don't know. So throughout kind of the first portion of the show, Jimmy is trying to get a hold of Jey, and he can't. He's like telling Paul Heyman, I've emailed him, I've DM'd him, I've called him, but just, nothing. I can't defend the tag titles without a partner. He even tells Paul, hey, Paul, why don't you go out there and help defend the tag titles? Whatever, right? So Paul Heyman also during this, he was a little bit salty here because and Paul Heyman's always salty, but Paul Heyman tells Jimmy, like, how come you guys didn't go out there? Like, how come you didn't go out there to help me out right now? Like, Sami Zayn's out there and you guys, like, nobody did anything, right? So Jimmy kind of like nods, like he doesn't really pay too much attention to that. And then finally he just tells Paul Heyman, you know what? Jey Uso is going to be there. I know Jey Uso is going to be there. So finally, we get this match. Ricochet's out there, Braun's out there, Jimmy's out there, and very quickly, all of a sudden, Jey Uso appears. He comes from the crowd, he walks down, and he ends up doing this match with his brother. They have this moment where they hug and, they do the match. The match is pretty good. I actually thought the match really picked up towards the end. The first couple of minutes were like whatevers, but the ending of the match I thought was really good because that's when they really started to speed things up. So they had a pretty fine match here. Of course, Jey and Jimmy, they win. They retain their titles. Whoop-de-doo. Awesome. So then after this, they're hugging, they go backstage, they're celebrating, Jey Uso's kind of celebrating a little bit more than Jimmy, where Jimmy still has a couple of questions he wants from Jey Uso. And during this, while they're walking and talking, Paul Heyman is hiding behind some pillar and he's, just like watching and listening, right? So, Jey Uso basically tells him like, I'm here. But Jimmy's still kind of a little bit on the fence. All right. They separate. And we later then see Jey Uso is kind of walking in this secluded area where there's all these production trucks and whatnot. So he's there, just walking, and you're like, okay, he's going to bump into Sami Zayn right now. Either this is intentional or Sami Zayn is going to creep up on him. From the looks of it, Sami Zayn kind of took him by surprise. So Sami Zayn then goes to Jey Uso and he comes up to him and he tells him, you know what? The bloodline's going down. They're a sinking ship. You can get out of this right now. You don't have to go down with them. And Jey Uso's kind of like not really giving any vibe as to what he thinks. It was kind of hard to read him during this, whether or not he agrees with Sami, whether or not he disagrees with Sami. It was kind of hard to read him. So then afterwards, Sami tells him, you know what? I just want to tell you this. I want you to know that I acknowledge you. I acknowledge you, Jey Uso. So Jey, then he puts up the fist bump because he wants to fist bump with Jey. But Jey's first a little bit like, you should be careful with that. That's what he tells Sami, like, be careful with it a little bit. But then afterwards, he ends up fist bumping Sami Zayn. So later on, the closing of the show, we see Paul Heyman telling Jimmy Uso that Roman Reigns basically doesn't want the Usos, to be in Montreal for the Elimination Chamber match, that they should be watching from home, watching on TV, because sometimes you miss things that you wouldn't miss if you were watching on the TV screen. Basically alluding to Paul Heyman maybe knowing the interaction that Jey Uso and Sami Zayn had, but clearly knowing that Jimmy Uso didn't see that. So maybe Jimmy shouldn't be trusting Jey as much as he maybe is planning on doing so. So that was kind of that. And then on top of that, I still don't know for sure if we're going to be seeing, what's going to happen in terms of who's going to show up to Montreal, this and that, right? Everybody's been talking about this. We talked about this last week with, Jimmy in Canada and DUIs and this and that. I still don't know what the situation is with that, but I'm sensing that maybe not to expect Jimmy Uso in Canada. I'm not entirely sure on this, so don't quote me because I really don't know. But in regards to Jey, I think he's good to go. I'm assuming he's in the clear, and I'm still assuming that Jey Uso, I said this last week, but Jey Uso seems to be the person that is going to cost the match to Sami Zayn. And right now, at first you want to be like, oh, is he actually really going to be torn between Jimmy and Sami? Is he really going to be torn, or does he already know what he's going to do? My estimation from this is that he already knows what he's going to do. He was gone for, X amount of days, and clearly I'm assuming he did some thinking, and he knows what he's going to do. Now, he could be on great. He's tag team champions with his brother. They hold gold. He ain't gonna give that up. That's his brother. They've been together since day one, Oos. So they ain't gonna give that. He ain't gonna give that up. Sami Zayn, yes, at some point they may have been friends. He may still have a soft spot for him. He probably still will. But my assumption here is that Jey Uso is going to cost Sami Zayn this match at Elimination Chamber. It was my prediction last week. And then today, after the whole, the fist bump, I kind of feel like he just did that so that Sami Zayn would maybe still think that they're good. And it's also going to hurt a lot more because that Sami Zayn legitimately cares about Jey Uso. Like, if Jey Uso wanted to be friends with Sami Zayn, Sami Zayn would welcome him with open arms. And so that is going to suck because Jey Uso stood up for him in the freaking court thing, and then he's most likely going to be the one to ruin this opportunity against Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber. So that's kind of where we're at right now with the bloodline. What are your guys' theories? What do you think based on the events that unfolded today? Did they give you any sort of different insight as to what you might expect to occur at Elimination Chamber? Let's see what we got here. We got Mohamed who says, great ending. I love it. Steven points out that the plot thickens. Oh man, Zeno Hour says Jimmy Uso is going to get the tribal abuse next week. For reals, right? Fernando Zaya says this was a very memorable moment. I absolutely loved it. And we got the Kyoput who believes that Jey has been the MVP of this whole storyline. No, the MVP is definitely Sami Zayn, but Jey Uso he'd be like, what's the best supporting actor or something? The sidekick. That's hard to say too, because Roman Reigns is obviously, Roman Reigns, and you can't disregard everything that he did because he was freaking phenomenal in this too. They all played their parts, and they all played their parts well. All right, let's see what else we've got here from people. What are you guys saying? This is from Grande Hero, who says, the best part of the Sami story has always been about his relationship with Jey. So when Jey turns on him, it's going to be heartbreaking. Yeah, that's pretty much how I'm feeling about that as well. I really am feeling that exact same way. Steven says, next week on SmackDown, Jey shows his loyalty to Sami, and then the next night at Chamber, he turns on Sami. So I kind of feel like we're all along the same lines of what we're expecting from Elimination Chamber. So either they're going to go and do things to the T in terms of what we're predicting, or we're going to get an absolute swerve. I don't know. I'm so excited for Elimination Chamber, guys. This is on, and I think I said this on another podcast before, but I'm more excited for Elimination Chamber than I was for Royal Rumble. Like, I kid you not. It's literally just because we're going to get Roman versus Sami Zayn. I'm so freaking stoked about it. Like, this feels like one of those shows where you have to tune in. Let's just say you're not even a WWE fan. Like, you just follow it occasionally. You're maybe just keep up by reading people's tweets, or maybe just read the TV reports on a website or something. I don't know. I feel like this is still like, if you're one of those people that maybe only tunes in casually, you've been hearing it's a good storyline, but maybe you haven't been keeping up. This to me feels like a show that everybody has to tune into in regards to just to see what goes down with the bloodline, especially obviously Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. So This feels like an important matchup. It's been a while since I felt that way too. Honestly, it's been a while since I have felt this way. I mean, I did kind of feel about it about this like this with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens at Royal Rumble, because you knew something was going to go down. But I still feel a lot more excited for this match at Elimination Chamber, and it's been a while since I've really felt this way about a certain matchup. All right, so we got people saying, the Coyote Pit says, if Sami actually won the titles, I'd lose my fucking mind. Honestly, so I'm going to be doing a watch along for that show, by the way, on my YouTube channel. And if that were to happen, holy bonkers, I think everybody would be like, it would be like the shock of the century for us, for WWE fans, for sure. But we'll see. I don't know anymore. All right, so let's go ahead and press on from here, because we do got a couple more items to talk about in regards to Smackdown. We got Hit Row versus Sheamus and McIntyre, Drew McIntyre. So, man, if we were supposed to be taking Hit Row seriously, they have just been going down, man. They have been, I feel like okay, how do I word this? So when Hit Row came back to WWE, it felt like, okay, cool, this is exciting. Triple H is bringing people back, and let them have their moment. Let's see how it plays out. It's going to be maybe a little bit different without Swerve Strickland, because he really was, he was the person that was wrestling all the matches and was making them look good and, in-ring wise and this and that. So not having Swerve was a really big missing puzzle piece for Hit Row. But okay, let's give them a try. Let's see what they can do, without Swerve, right? And for the most part, like, the beginning was a little bit rough, but it wasn't terrible. It was just a little bit rough. But as the weeks have progressed, it's gotten a little rougher and rougher. And we've gotten to the point now where, sadly, for Hit Row fans, I feel like they have now been designated to the jobber position. I see them very, very incredibly low on the card now. They're not a big deal to me. And I'm sorry, like, it's just not working. And you can't even get mad at me, because this match with Hit Row against Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, it was a squash pretty much. Like, they made them look like jobbers here. Drew goes in there. He headbutts Ashante the Adonis. Really great headbutt. Loved it. Drew suplexes Ashante the Adonis. He goes for the Claymore. Ashante moves out of the way. Instead, Top Dollar pulls him out of the way. They're on the outside. Sheamus runs through, gets Ashante the Adonis with a clothesline. And finally, we get the bro kick from Sheamus. He gets the win, and the Banger Bros win. This was an incredibly short match. There was no substance given to Hit Row whatsoever in this match. They did not look good because they didn't have a moment to look good. They were dominated by Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. They were dominated by the Banger Bros. So I'm sorry. It's just like, you can't expect me now to take Hit Row seriously when they're officially in the designated jobber seats. That's what it feels like. We do see the Viking Raiders interrupt the celebration of the Banger Bros, and they play a little video, and Valhalla does her, I don't know what you call it. Their rituals that they do. I'm not really sure, but they're doing this whole thing where they're kind of almost similar to Ash Wednesday, where you get the little thing on your forehead, and they do them to Ivar and Eric, and they're like, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre. I can't explain this vignette, okay? The point is, they're facing each other next week. This should be good. We've already seen Sheamus, McIntyre, and the Viking Raiders. It was good when they had that match, and I'm pretty sure this one's going to be good again. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on there. Joe Compton sends in a super chat. Thank you so much to Joe, who says, Hit Row will be the first to be featured endeavor by Triple H. I called it now. So yeah, I never like to say like, oh, this person should lose their job or anything like that. No way. But it is one of those things where you can't help but to notice that it hasn't necessarily been a successful act. There was a portion where I did think that they could maybe work around certain things and that it could work, but then it just didn't. And they haven't been able to really get them to like stick in terms of making them something that feels interesting. And unfortunately, that we'll be talking about another person on the roster pretty shortly that is kind of going through the exact same thing. But we'll talk about that in just a second. Thank you so much to Joe Compton for the super chat here. All right, so oh man, some of these some of the comments though. All right. Let's get into, oh man, never mind. It's not another person. It's two people that are kind of having a hard time character-wise. This next person I forgot because I completely forgot about, but let's get into it. This is Lacey Evans versus Carmen Jerez. So, Lacey, if you have not been watching SmackDown, if maybe you've been out of the loop, let me give you a quick rundown of what's been going on with Lacey. So, Lacey Evans, ever since she came back from the pregnancy and she had her baby and this and that, she came back. Okay, cool. They have been doing a lot of back and forth with Lacey. They have been trying to figure out different things that could work for Lacey. We have seen her bounce back from brand to brand. She was a Raw superstar, SmackDown superstar, back to Raw, back to SmackDown. Can't even tell you how many times that happened. Okay. She is doing these sob story promos for like 2 months or something. And they first come across as babyface promos, but then she's actually a heel. So there was a lot of confusion of like, okay, so she's a babyface? No, she's a heel. That didn't work. That was scrapped. Then finally, the most recent thing that we've been seeing regarding Lacey Evans is they've been doing these really quick videos that actually look really cool. Like, I'm not even gonna trash them. I really like those videos. She's, doing she's at the Marine boot camp, and she's doing all these great physical things that I would never dare to do whatsoever. She's kicking ass, man. She looks great. The videos were great. It looked really cool. And then she comes out and, she came out when she came out at the Royal Rumble. That's when she came back. And then this was her first match on SmackDown since all of the boot camp videos. I hope this works for her. Right now, it kind of just felt like the crowd was really dead. They didn't really react to this match whatsoever. She's doing push-ups during this match. She actually did get a couple of boos. Not too many, but she did get a couple of boos. She hits the woman's right, and then eventually she locks in her Cobra Clutch and gets the win here. So the good thing about this one is, and I'm going to give it a pro. Here's the pro for this one. Is that in the past, we didn't even know what Lacey Evans was supposed to be. We didn't even know if she was supposed to be a heel or a babyface or what they were doing with Lacey Evans. At least this time, it is crystal clear. She is a heel. I'm going to applaud that because we didn't know that the last time we saw her. It was a little bit weird. So at least we know now she is a heel. And I do think that Lacey Evans works best as a heel. There's times where I wish that they could make her into a really cool baby face. And I've talked about this. I feel like her character does have potential. Like, who doesn't want to root for, a woman that, worked hard and, had a hard life and, she made it and blah, blah, blah. That's a very easy person to get behind of. But I just think naturally Lacey Evans is more of a heel. So maybe that just works a lot better for her. So let's see how this plays out. Let's see if they actually stick to this. And let's see what this new run of Lacey Evans is going to look like on television. But we got a super chat here from Tony J. Wachowski. Thank you so much to Tony for sending this in. Tony says, pause. Sometimes you see on TV what I don't see live means Roman saw Jey say everything on TV. He knows Jimmy covered for him. And in regards to this feels very much, I can't disagree. Yeah, I can't disagree, obviously. So, man, this one's rough, guys. This one's rough because you're wondering, okay, what does Roman Reigns know? What does Paul Heyman know? What's going on here? Did they or did they not see the backstage segment with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso? Did they see the secret meeting take place? Is Jimmy Uso covering for Jey Uso? Is that why he first said, I can't get a hold of him, and then all of a sudden he shows up? This one's a crazy one. But Paul Heyman, here's the thing about Paul Heyman. He doesn't just say things to say things. everything Paul Heyman says is kind of a spoiler. He gives you what you need to know. And you always kind of have to read in between the lines and take every word he says as a hint as to what can be happening next. That's actually one of my favorite things about Paul Heyman is that he doesn't say things just to say them. So thank you to Tony J. Wachowski for sending in the super chat. It's much appreciated. Thank you so much, Tony. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I mean, we're pretty much on the same thing when it comes to Lacey Evans. So we'll move on from that there. There's nothing much else to add. Next up, let's talk about the Ronda Rousey segment. Oh, man. Okay. Maybe. All right. So Natalya comes out. If you guys recall, Natalya was one of the entrants into the Elimination Chamber for the women to go on to face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. The entrants are Raquel, Asuka, Liv, Nikki, Natty, and Carmella. So Natty goes out there. She's got she's, cutting her promo, and her promo is all about Shayna. It's all about Shayna. She calls Shayna a cheap knockoff version of Ronda Rousey, says that she's going to win the Elimination Chamber and that Shayna is going to go back to carrying Ronda Rousey's bags. So then Shayna comes out, and Shayna says, I was signed before Ronda was. I was, having great matches and winning titles before Ronda was, and this and that. So during this, we then do see the return of Ronda Rousey. Ronda comes out, and the last time we saw her was when during that Christmas Eve episode where she lost the SmackDown Women's Championship to Charlotte Flair in a pretty surprising manner because nobody was expecting Charlotte Flair at all. So Ronda Rousey returns. She and Shayna attack Natty, but then Shotzi comes out to have Natty's back, but they both pretty much beat the crap out of Natty and Shotzi. So, clearly that the, speculation has been that we're going to be seeing Ronda and Shayna team up together for WrestleMania. So we'll see where they go from here. But you know what? I don't mind this. I hope this works. I hope that this helps, get Shayna back to a level where, just a more... She tends to be forgotten about now on the roster, which is unfortunate because I do think that Shayna has a very, very natural, she's a very natural badass. Like, you look at her and I don't have to suspend my disbelief that she will kick my ass and murder me. No, I don't have to suspend my disbelief whatsoever. She has that naturalness to her. So they need to play off of that. And you need somebody like that on the roster who's like this dominant killer type of person. So I do hope we get to see Shayna back in that version, which we have seen shades of that before plenty of times. So I do hope we get to that. Ronda Rousey, I think right now she just needs to be in something that feels new, something that feels different right now on the show because she's coming off of a not so great run as SmackDown Women's Champion. So you definitely want to see her bounce back from that. So I hope Shayna and Ronda really complement each other and kind of boost each other up on the roster. And, I hope they make for some good, some good feuds, some good television. That's all you can hope for. Jared sends in a super chat. Thank you so much to Jared, who says, the Hit Row Lacey problem is a SmackDown in general problem. A lot of these heatless acts, especially in the women's division. And that's unfortunate too, because it is true. How many times weren't we sitting here when Ronda Rousey was champion and I was like, I don't know who Ronda Rousey's going to lose the title to. There's no one there to lose the title to. Yeah, there's potential in so many people, but that doesn't mean that they're going to win the title just because they have potential right now. They need to build to that. So there really wasn't anybody for Ronda. And then Charlotte comes. And why do you think Charlotte's been feuding with Sonya she was feuding with Sonya for the longest time because there was nobody else there for her to really be in a legitimate story. And so it is very heatless in that end of things. And for the guys, for the tag teams, this is the thing, I really like the SmackDown tag team division. I really like it with everything that they're doing with the Brawling Brutes, the Banger Bros. They do need to tweak some things, but for the most part, I do like that division. And then for the guys, it really is the bloodline. The bloodline is the life of this show. So yeah, I can't really disagree too much in terms of, them having the heatless acts. I can't disagree because there is a couple more examples, which I'll talk about in just a second about, where we're at and who needs some better direction and all of that. Thank you so much to Jared, though, for the nice super chat. I appreciate it. All right. So Stephen Marchuli sends in a super chat. Thank you so much to Stephen, who says, would you book Ronda in a tag team or singles match for WrestleMania? So here's the thing. Like, I feel like there has been, like, to me, okay, Ronda Rousey is a huge star. Okay. We know this. She's a huge star. And you put her name against anybody, and that's going to draw, to me, it's going to draw interest. And if you're, for example, if there is somebody who's not a WWE fan, I don't know, and let's say I invite my friend who's not a WWE fan, okay? And they look at the WrestleMania card. They're not going to know. They're not going to know who who a lot of the people are. They're not going to know who they are. But they're going to know Ronda Rousey. So even if you're not a WWE fan, you're going to know Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is the name that people are just going to know. And so because of that, I do feel like it is, important to have her on the WrestleMania card because of who she is and her name and all of that. But unfortunately for the actual fans, you haven't necessarily been getting much out of Ronda, especially with the most recent SmackDown Women's Championship run. So with all of that being said, while I personally would rather see, nope, I'm changing my answer. Given that the last couple of matches, the singles matches that we've seen in Ronda and have not been good, it has to be a tag team match. And if she was to be in there in a singles match, it would literally have to be somebody like Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Bayley. It would have to be Charlotte or somebody like that she can't have like a bad match with. If it was anybody else, I would be very nervous about it not basically like about it not being good. So for that reason, I'm going with tag team match. I would definitely book her in the tag team role. And clearly that's the way that it's looking like it's going with her and Shayna. So I'm feeling pretty confident that that's the way it's going. But if I was booking the show, I'd stick to the same thing. I'd do tag team as well. But thank you so much to Stephen Marchuli for sending in the super chat. I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on from here. So after this, we got to talk about Sonya and Chelsea Green versus Raquel and Liv Morgan. So this was pretty funny because, Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce have pretty much been beefing for the longest time, all right? They never see eye to eye. They're always fighting. That's their thing. But Chelsea Green, she just came back to WWE and she's doing the whole Karen gimmick and she's always complaining and, so there's always a problem and she always wants to talk to the manager. It's great. So it was funny because this whole segment backstage started with Sonya complaining to Adam Pearce. And I was thinking like, damn, poor Adam Pearce, he's got freaking Chelsea Green literally driving him crazy on Raw, and then he goes to SmackDown and he has Sonya Deville driving him crazy. So I was literally thinking that as I was watching this, and then out of nowhere, Chelsea Green pops up and she goes up to him and she says, I need to speak to the manager of SmackDown. And he's like, I'm the manager of SmackDown. Like, what are you talking about? It's me. And she goes like, are you discriminating me? Or I forgot how she said it, but she's all, are you discriminating me? Because, I have facial amnesia. Facial amnesia, okay? I died. By the way, I had to Google this and there's so many articles about facial amnesia. There's one about Brad Pitt having facial amnesia. I didn't actually read the article, but I saw the headline and because I just had really quick Google search, but I was dying because this is so on point. This is so within the perfect stereotype of what you would expect from a Karen, right? We're being discriminated against. And then you're like, well, what is it that you're being discriminated for? And it's something so ridiculous. And with this, something ridiculous was the facial amnesia. So I was dying. This popped me so hard. And I started thinking about this and I'm like, you know what I would really like it next if Chelsea Green did? Because I think this would be funny because this is so what I would imagine a Karen to do. So not only does a Karen like, go out and complain and this and that, but Karens always have an opinion about something. And they're always they're vlog like there's a lot of like I kind of associate it too with like mommy bloggers. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with mommy bloggers. I'm very familiar because I see them all over Facebook. But mommy bloggers tend to be like the ones that are like, oh, facial amnesia is a very serious issue or something crazy like that. Or like, I don't know. And so it would be really funny if Chelsea would like be like, okay, well, on my vlog, this past Monday, I vlogged about how, Swiss chocolates are in demand for, I don't know, something stupid, right? So I would like to see something like that where she incorporates a vlog or something. And she's like, did you see my vlog on blah, blah, blah? I don't know. They can come up with the details on that. But it would be really funny if they did something like that, because I think it would actually tie into like everything that I see on Facebook when it comes to like mommy bloggers and Karens. And have you ever gone into a Facebook comment section? She could literally log on to Facebook, go to the comment section, click on any article that seems somewhat controversial or not even remotely controversial, click on that and get so much material for her character. This is great. But anyways, we get this tag team match, and this was pretty much because of Chelsea. They end up losing this match because she doesn't want to get tagged into the match. So Raquel brings her into the actual match. And so she basically is like scared, and, she's been losing. So Liv and Raquel get their win. So this was fun. This was fine. I liked this. Darth Steven sends in a super chat. Thank you so much for saying, Chelsea is so funny. Her expressions are hilarious. For me, it's the voice. I like the, well, I want some Swiss chocolates and I don't know. It's really funny. Thank you to Steven for sending this in. I appreciate it, man. All right. So let's go ahead and move on from this. And I'm so happy, by the way, that everybody here is saying that she's killing it on the character wise, because she's got like the best character right now for the women. Really. She's got like the most refreshing character for the women. And that's going to get her over. So that's exciting to see. But anyways, speaking of the women, we got a quick backstage interview with Charlotte Flair. She looks great. And this is basically about her match with Rhea Ripley. And all she says is Rhea Ripley isn't on her level. And she talks about the WrestleMania 36 match and says that she taught her a lesson during that WrestleMania 36 match, but that come WrestleMania 39, she's going to put Rhea Ripley in her place. There's nothing else to add to that. Sheldon Jackson sends in a super chat saying, not a fan of Chelsea Green being a Karen. I wish she was her hot mess persona. We have enough Karens. WWE don't need one. I like the idea of being a Karen because it's such a, it's something that we're always, it's something that we're always talking about on social media. Everybody knows what a Karen is. It's funny. So that's the reason why I like it. It's fresh, it's new, it's something different. And yes, the hot mess persona is freaking awesome, but you're going to want to try something new. So you can't do the same thing over and over, right? So, this is her opportunity to really do something different and something that would work, for WWE and whatnot. So I think the Karen stuff is on point for her. All right. So moving on from this, we got a four-way with the winner going on to face Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. And this was Madcap Moss versus Karrion Kross versus Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar. So earlier, someone brought up the point that we have a lot of heatless acts on SmackDown. And unfortunately, I have to agree with that, especially when it comes to this match here, because Madcap Moss is not somebody that has been presented necessarily as a, super badass by any means on this roster. He looks great, but that's about it. But he wins this match, which was very surprising. This match was okay, but I was not expecting Madcap Moss to actually get the win. I actually thought he was the one to least possibly be getting the win. But anyways, Karrion Kross is still feuding with Rey Mysterio, and I hate to say this, but every week that Karrion Kross comes out to talk about Rey Mysterio, I'm like, oh yeah, they're still feuding. Oh yeah. I forget every week. It's like no one cares. I love Rey Mysterio, and this is not a Rey Mysterio problem. No one cares about Kross and Mysterio. Man, I feel really bad saying that, but this is boring. And the promo that was cut earlier in the night was boring. Santos Escobar, I feel like they just keep pushing them to the side, pushing them to the side. I have been like, do something with Santos Escobar. I've been saying this every week. I'm a broken record. I was hoping, I don't know what I was hoping for. Really, I would have liked to see Santos Gunther. I wanted to see it the last time too. Rey Mysterio Gunther, I knew wasn't going to happen because we just saw Rey Mysterio Gunther, so I knew that wasn't going to happen. Cross Gunther, I don't think they want to see Cross get killed by Gunther right now, so that's the reason why they went with Madcap Moss. Madcap Moss can afford to get killed by Gunther, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So Gunther versus Madcap next week. I kind of hope that they give Madcap Moss enough shine to kind of start, leveling him up a little bit on the roster, because everything that he did with Baron Corbin was such a bad start for Madcap Moss. It was not a good start, and you got to erase all of that from people's memories and have us start to see a brand new version of Madcap Moss. This could be the start. Give him a little bit of shine here with this match against Gunther, and then afterwards have Gunther kill him in a nice, not nice way. But you know what I mean. All right. That was honestly SmackDown today. The Bloodline stuff, phenomenal. So Drew McIntyre for next week, we're going to be seeing Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus the Viking Raiders. We're going to be seeing Natalya and Shotzi team up to take on Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And we're going to be seeing Gunther versus Madcap Moss for the Intercontinental Championship. So overall, I thought this was a decent episode. And really, it was the Bloodline stuff that carried us in and out of, like, I like that they have it throughout the show because it keeps you not wanting to change the channel just in case something else happens. So I'm a fan. All right, we got a couple things to talk about in regards to AEW Rampage. I did think that Rampage was better this week than it was last week, but it was still a pretty straightforward show. There was one segment that I absolutely hated, and I think everybody's going to know which one it is, but let's get into the show. We had Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta take on Kip Sabian, the Butcher, and the Blade. This wasn't a bad match. You go in there, you have the BCC hitting all of their spots. Jon Moxley doing his hammer and anvil elbows, Claudio Castagnoli doing his big swing on Kip Sabian. We had some good interaction between Claudio and the Blade, where he hits him with the sharpshooter, hits him with the cutter, and then finally uppercut on Blade. Yeah, on uppercut on Blade for the win, and the BCC wins this match. So it's pretty much every Blackpool Combat Club match that we've seen, but it was still pretty entertaining and enjoyable for the opening of this show. But the segment I hated, oh my God. Now, I had heard of Impractical Jokers because I know people like the show. I have heard other people talk about it. I've only ever seen maybe half of an episode, and I really wasn't paying attention because I was at a friend's house and they were showing it to me, so I really wasn't paying attention. And this was years ago, so I don't remember squat about Impractical Jokers. I don't know the guys. I don't know. After this, I don't want to watch Impractical Jokers. Like, if this was supposed to convince me to watch Impractical Jokers, I'm out. I'm so out on this one. This was not my kind of comedy. This was not for me. I am not the demo. Read between the lines. Not the demo over here, okay? Not the demo for Impractical Jokers comedy bit. I hated this. Oh my God, this was so cringe. So they had the guys come out. I don't even know their names. They come out and they have Jericho's bat. And they're making fun of it for being a small bat. And basically they're implying that because you have a small bat, it's implying that he has a small you-know-what. So they get the people to chant small bat. And they're like really excited. Like if they came up with something brilliant, they're like, yeah, small bat, small bat. Of course the crowd's going to cheer. They're there to be a crowd, okay? Who in the world thought that small bat was funny? Not the demo. Oh my God, this was so stupid. Small bat. I wasn't going to laugh at small bat. Who's going to laugh at small bat? No one. So then Jericho says, well, I may have a small bat, but I have big balls. And then I'm like, oh my God, no, this is the Miz all over again. No, I don't want to go back to this. No more big, small, tiny balls. No, I'm over it. So then finally Jericho says, I'm not going to go after that bat because my friends are going to go after that bat. So the Jericho Appreciation Society comes out. They beat down the Impractical Jokers. They put a table out there, and it's supposed to be this great, awesome power bomb onto the table. It was the worst power bomb I'd ever seen. Oh my God. So yeah, this was bad. This was not for me. I get why they did it. Cross promotion, great stuff. But man, after this, I'm out. I'm not going to tune into Impractical Jokers, literally just because of this segment. I'm sorry if you are a fan, but for me as a non-fan, non-demo, this was not for me whatsoever. So this was a pass. It killed me. I was just there like, that's why I tweeted the Kenny Omega picture where he's like, oh, yeah, that's how I felt about it. All right, Joe Compton sends in a super chat saying, Karrion Kross needs a bigger named feud. I would like to see him versus someone like Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, or Seth Rollins. I kindly disagree, Joe. I kindly disagree. I don't want to be like, oh, I disagree with you, but I have to disagree with you here because Kross did start off. First of all, Rey Mysterio is a freaking icon, okay? If I'm in a feud with Rey Mysterio, I'd be freaking thrilled, man. Are you kidding me? I could have a bomb-ass match with Rey Mysterio. Not me personally, but me if I was a wrestler, okay? Now, he did have a big name feud with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, I would consider a big name. And that feud sucked. So the feud with Drew McIntyre sucked. The feud with Rey Mysterio sucked. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, these are two big names. It's not like he's been feuding with Madcap Moss. It's not like he's been feuding with LA Knight. It's not like he's been feuding with, I don't know who else. He feuded with Drew McIntyre and Rey Mysterio. You get me here? You get where I'm going with this? So unfortunately, Joe, I'm going to have to disagree here. I think they need to fix something with Kross's character and the presentation of the character versus the actual opponent here. I know a lot of times I'm like, oh, they need a better opponent for this person. They need a better opponent for this one. I don't apply the same argument for Kross on this one. But I still appreciate you sending the super chat in, and I'm sorry for disagreeing with you on this one. But thank you for sending this in. Grapple Geekery sends in a super chat saying the most WWE segment in AEW history. Oh, man. It was rough. It was definitely rough. Sheldon Jackson sends in a super chat saying, Mox, Claudio, and Yuta are always together, but Danielson is never with them. They didn't have his back on Wednesday with MJF, but they did with when Mox was facing MJF. Curious if there's a story there or not. I mean, there should be because they did have a couple, when was it? God, maybe like 2 months ago. There was a little bit of that, we were seeing that whole problem there with Bryan Danielson and the BCC. But ever since William Regal and his departure, it has been a little bit unclear. And they tend to do this a lot, though. They tend to do this. Like, I remember when we just stopped seeing the Inner Circle and there was never like an official breakup, like at the point where we were like, are the Inner Circle still together? Like, they're not showing up together. Like, what's going on? Remember that period where we were like, what's going on with the Inner Circle? I kind of feel like that's where we're at with the BCC. So thank you so much to Sheldon Jackson for this very generous super chat. I really appreciate it. All right, I'm glad that mostly the chat agrees with me on this Impractical Jokers thing. I was very afraid that you guys were going to be like, oh, this was great. What are you talking about? YT says could be worse. He could be feuding with Top Dollar. Oh, man. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's get into the Dustin Rhodes promo. I loved this. Oh, I love this so much. This was like, I don't know how to explain this, but I would have cut this promo if I had good promo skills. You know what I mean? Like, if I was Dustin Rhodes and had the talent of Dustin Rhodes, this is a promo that I would cut because he's going out there and he's telling Swerve he's not afraid of him. And, they're going to have their match soon. So he says, quote, during his promo, this killed me. He says, what is that on your chest? The 3 triangles. What does that stand for? Looks like Doritos to me. And I like Doritos, but I hate you. Killed me. Absolutely killed me. This was funny. Like, this was funny. Now this was funny, okay? I loved this promo. I don't even remember what else Dustin Rhodes said. This was all he needed to say. This won me over. So then Swerve Strickland comes out, he attacks him, and that was pretty much this. And we're heading into their match. I was a fan of this. Thumbs up, Dustin, on this Doritos promo. I really hope he gets a Dorito sponsorship off of this. I made sure to tweet that because I know that brands see this stuff, and brands are always like, I remember when I tweeted that I wish Hook was on Riverdale, like Archie Comics responded to that. So you never know. Maybe like Doritos will be like, oh, hey, what's up, Dustin? Who knows? You just never know these days. But there you go. That's basically. Thank you. Ender Buckley says the Doritos line got me too, and I don't know why. Right? It's not like, I don't know how to explain it. It's something that was just like accidentally funny. All right, Marina Shafir versus Ruby Soho. So, unfortunately for things like Marina Shafir's work in AEW that we've seen like on Dynamite and Rampage, and those moments necessarily haven't been, they haven't gotten rave reviews just yet. It actually hasn't been too great. But with that being said, this match was fine. It was fine. Most of it pretty much took place during commercial break, but I didn't feel like we saw anything bad from this. Ruby Soho gets her win after she hits the Destination Unknown. And really what we need to talk about in regards to this is Saraya and Tony. They come out, they start trash talking, Saraya starts talking, smack and whatnot. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, they come out, they attack them. Ruby Soho, Switzerland, she's kind of just like, caught in the middle. She doesn't know, we don't know which direction she's going to go. Is she going to go with the WWE? Well, they're not saying WWE, but it's implied. Is she going to go with the WWE girls, or is she going to, stick with Jamie and Britt? I don't know. I'm assuming that she's going to probably align herself with Saraya and Tony. That feels to me like what would probably be most intriguing. But who knows what they're going to do with that. And they did announce a match for this, by the way. What is it? They did announce we're going to be seeing. Did they announce actually? Hold on. I'm pretty sure they announced a tag team match. I'm pretty sure they announced a tag team match for this, although Jack can correct me on this one. I probably didn't write it down or something, but I'm pretty sure they announced a tag team match, but it was like over commentary when they announced it. All right, I'll circle back to that. After this, we got a promo between Darby Allin and Sting, and basically confirming that Darby Allin isn't going to be challenging Samoa Joe for the TNT title again. That was something that we touched on last week, or rather this past AEW Dynamite. So that's pretty much what we got there. Renee Paquette, she also did do, they previewed an interview that they're going to show on Dynamite with Adam Cole, and they're basically teased that they're going to reveal his next opponent. So thank you. And by the way, they did announce a tag team match. Thank you to Mohamed, who just clarified that, by the way. We also got a backstage promo with Mark Briscoe. This was something that was promoted ahead of the show, of course, and this was supposed to be an interview with him and Lexi Nair, and he was interrupted. He was, pretty hyped up and whatnot, but he was interrupted by freaking Sterling, and Sterling's trying to hire him, trying to get him on board with him, and Mark Briscoe's like, nah, like, I don't want to be part of this. And then Sterling goes and calls him. Sterling tells him, like, are you sure? Don't you want to come make money? Don't you want to make the most money that you've ever made in your career with me? Or do you just want to be, quote, a stupid chicken farmer? So that's what he said to Mark Briscoe. And then afterwards, we end up seeing Josh Wood stepping in because the confrontation gets too heated between Briscoe and Mark Sterling. So Josh Wood steps in, and you can pretty much expect this match to happen as well between Josh Woods and Mark Briscoe. So this was fun. This was a cool little way to just get, the ball rolling with Mark Briscoe and what he's going to be doing on the show and whatnot. So yeah, this was good too. Jungle Boy, really quick squash match against Ryan Nemeth, like really quick, like a minute long. This was really nothing major whatsoever. Jungle Boy gets his win. Good for him. He signals that he wants gold. He had already mentioned this before in a promo where he said he's going to be a singles guy and he's going for gold. After this, Brian Cage comes out and basically signals that the end is near for Jungle Boy, and it looks like they're going to do Jungle Boy Brian Cage. They've done this before. It was good, so I'm totally cool with them running it back once again. All right, and last but not least, the main event of the night, we had Orange Cassidy versus Lee Moriarty for the AEW All-Atlantic Championship. This was Orange Cassidy's 11th defense of the AEW All-Atlantic Championship. I didn't think this was a bad match whatsoever. I actually really liked this. There were some key moments that I really enjoyed from Lee Moriarty here, which was really what I wanted to see, because Lee Moriarty is a pretty popular guy amongst fans. I feel like, people for the most part are always having good things to say about Lee Moriarty. And it's just a matter of really seeing him have like that really breakout match. And I wouldn't say this was a breakout match by any means, but I did think that the main event was good. And I thought, considering that there hasn't been a lot of really good, strong Rampage matches, main event matches as of late, I thought this one was probably one of the stronger ones in a recent time period. So I enjoyed this. Afterwards, we did see, thought this was interesting. We saw the return of, not the return, but we saw Satnam, Singh, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett come out and basically attack Orange Cassidy and all of that. But the Acclaimed, as you guys know, they have history. They have beef with Satnam, Jay, and Jeff, and they come out and basically run them off. And this was interesting, given that same night, they on Wednesday, they just lost their tag team titles, and we won't get into that again, but boy, was that a topic on Wednesday's show. But there you guys go. That was SmackDown and Rampage from Friday, February 10th. Next week, AEW Rampage will be on at a special start time. For me, it is going to be 4 p.m. So it's going to start an hour before SmackDown, which means I'm so happy about this because that means next week I'm going to go on an hour early. So instead of going on at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to be going on at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which means I'm actually going to be able to have a Friday night. I'm so thrilled. I love when AEW Rampage is on at a special start time. I don't care. I'm so happy. I love it when they do special start times. I get spoiled here in the West Coast. All right, guys. So I will see you back here next week. I will be back for Tuesday's NXT. I will be here for Wednesday's AEW Dynamite, and then Friday, I will be on at a special start time too for AEW Rampage and SmackDown Conversation. Next week, we're also going to be heading into the Elimination Chamber, so I will be doing a prediction show on my YouTube channel. I'll announce more about that later on. And then I'm also going to be doing a watch along on my YouTube channel. I'll announce more on that later on. Other than that, everyone, I hope you have a great weekend. If you're watching the Super Bowl, have a great time watching the show. Stay safe, and thank you guys so much as always for tuning in to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.